All right, hi again, friends. We are going to continue on, and we're going to talk more about nickels. As we've had a lot of nickel changes to the nickel over time. So you need this sheet out. So this is what you would have, and then this is the way you need to cut it out. So just cut it out right on the lines, but don't cut off history of nickels. Don't cut these apart, okay? So it's just going to look right like this. And we're going to put the date. So this is the first nickel, and I've got one right here. And then if you notice, if you flip the back, you'll notice that the image on the back's upside down when you just flip it right over. But this is just our regular nickel, and this was the nickel that was used from these years, okay? This nickel was used from 1938 until 2003. All right. So that stayed the same for 65 years. This is 65 years. So from 1938 to 2003, this was the nickel that was used. Then in 2004, they made two special nickels, and they looked the same on the front, but the backs were different. Okay? And these special nickels in 2004 were to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the Lewis and Clark expedition. And an expedition is this great big long trip that they went on in 1804. And in fact, they went and explored the Louisiana Purchase, and they went on this long expedition from May of 1804 until September of 1806. So in 2004, for when they started their expedition, they have these two commemorative nickels about things that we remember. And these are very rare. So if you ever find a 2004 nickel, keep it, okay? I've been able to find a couple, just in all of my years of teaching in school, I've been able to find a couple of nickels, but not very many. And I actually don't have one of these with the handshake, but I do have this one, okay, with the boat. This handshake is just to show that they purchased the Louisiana Purchase, a huge piece of land, and the boat is that they found a new riverway to transport goods. So it says Lewis and Clark. I'll pass these around in class. Let me see if I can find. Here's my only 2004 nickel. You can't probably see it, but it's got the boat on the back. Okay, so like I said, looks the same on the front, but it's got the boat on the back. And I'm still looking for one of these with the handshake. I haven't found one yet. So never get rid of a 2004 nickel. Next, we have the 2005 nickel, because back in 1805, they were still on their expedition. Their expedition lasted 2 years, almost 2.5 years. So they made two more nickels to commemorate the huge exploring expedition that they went on. And this time they changed the fronts. So the front of the first nickel, here's this one. Okay, and it shows a kind of a side view of Thomas Jefferson. And then on the back, it says, "Ocean in view, oh the joy." So when they got to the end of their expedition and they could see the Pacific Ocean, that was written in William Clark's journal. So that's what they put on the back of the nickel right here. So again, if you find 2005 nickels, keep them. The other nickel was the buffalo, and I do have one buffalo nickel right here. Again, the front is the side view. It's the same. The back is the buffalo, which is a symbol of the United States, the buffalo or bison, because they discovered buffalo and bison. So those are our fancy 2004 and 2005 nickels. So be on the lookout for those. And then in 2006, they changed the nickel again. And they put the Monticello on the back again, Thomas Jefferson's house. But they changed it so that it's more of a, not just a side view, but it's his full face. So this is the nickel that is currently being made, and it has been made from 2006 to now. It is still the nickel that is being minted. All right. So now that you have your dates written on your nickel chart, we are going to move back to your math journal. And we are going to be looking at page 43. All right. 43. And I'm going to glue this in, page 43. So put a 43 down at the bottom. Now I'm going to glue this in. I need room to write over on this side, and I need some room to write at the bottom. So I'm going to glue this in, and I'm going to kind of line it up about like that. Okay, so that I still have room to write over here. So I'm going to take and glue in my little chart. Remember, if you're using white glue, you only need a couple of drops, small drops. We shouldn't have any oozing glue. And then I'm going to give this a title, and I'm going to say Nickels Continued. Because this is our second page on nickels. Now, if you are finding that you really are enjoying learning about money, you might want to become a numismatist, which is a coin collector. So if we have room, we'll write that down at the bottom. Anyway, here, okay, where it says 1938 to 2003, I want you to draw a little arrow, and I want you to write over here, okay, that this nickel, we're going to write the nickel stayed the same for 65 years. Okay, there was no change. Then we have our fancy nickels, the handshake nickel and the riverboat nickel from 2004, which is what was then in 2004, the 200th anniversary of the Lewis and Clark expedition. So let's draw a little arrow out there. And I'm going to write, these ones are from the 200th anniversary of the Lewis and Clark. And I'll put in the little video about Lewis and Clark. They were famous explorers. We didn't have maps and and helicopters and cameras, and we didn't have all that stuff back then. People just had to go figure out what the land was like themselves. So this is the 200th anniversary of the Lewis and Clark expedition. And then in 2005 is still the 200th anniversary of the Lewis and Clark expedition, because the expedition lasted 2 years, 4 months, and 10 days. So also Lewis and Clark. And you can also put the Lewis and Clark expedition. It went from, no, they were just friends. So the Lewis and Clark expedition, and that big trip lasted from May 14th, 1804 to September 23rd, 1806. So that's how long they were on their trip. And then starting in 2006 is when we have the current nickel that we have now. However, on the back of the nickel we have now, you would think that both of these are the same. They're both the Monticello. But this one, the new Monticello on the nickels 2006 and sooner, have right next to the Monticello this teeny tiny little FS, and it's so hard to see. You'd like need a magnifying glass so you might be able to see it. It's on the very right side right here, a teeny tiny FS right here. That stands for Felix Schlag, who designed the nickel. So you can draw that little circle. You can draw a little circle right there, and you can do an arrow over, and you can put tiny FS stands for Felix Schlag. That was his name. Felix Schlag, who designed the nickel. Okay. And then, of course, if you want to write more that you learn about the nickel, you can definitely do that on the left side of your book if you wish. But thanks for working hard. I hope that you enjoyed learning about nickels, and I will see you soon.